So I finally played the 7th Guest 30th Anniversary Edition, and I have mixed feelings. Because on one hand, I understand why this game became such a big deal in the early 90s. The atmosphere is creepy, the mansion is memorable, and the FMV cutscenes are charming in a weird old school kind of way.
I guess our host wants us to fend for ourselves.
But on the other hand, some of these puzzles nearly destroyed my enjoyment of the game. I'm not talking challenging but rewarding. I'm talking the kind of puzzles where you stop feeling clever and start feeling exhausted. The kind of puzzles where you wonder if the game even wants you to have fun. So this review is probably going to sound a bit conflicted, because I genuinely admire the 7th Guest as a part of gaming history, while still finding parts of it incredibly challenging to play in 2026.
Which way should I go now? Which way should I go now?
Before I get into everything, if you love retro horror games, FMV weirdness, or seeing someone slowly lose their mind over 90s puzzle design, definitely check out my 7th Guest playthroughs.
We can win. You can get what you want, Henry.
Now let's talk about the 7th Guest. For anyone who somehow hasn't heard of it, the 7th Guest originally came out in 1993 and became one of the most famous CD-ROM games ever made.
No life, no possessions, no dreams. And that's when the vision came.
Back then, this thing looked revolutionary. Pre-rendered 3D environments with live-action actors and full voice acting. It probably felt unbelievable at the time. The game takes place in a massive haunted mansion owned by Henry Stauf, who is basically an evil toymaker with one of the most dramatic villain voices ever used in a video game.
Only one of my guests will walk out of this house with his or her every wish granted.
You play as an amnesiac wandering through the mansion while slowly uncovering what happened to 6 guests invited there years earlier. The story itself is actually pretty interesting. It's dark, mysterious, and weird in a very specific 90s horror way that I actually found quite charming.
There's something wrong with her.
It's all right, son. You're okay. Don't worry. It's just an illusion.
The mansion feels unsettling without relying on constant jump scares. There's this dreamlike quality to everything. Even when the acting is cheesy, it somehow adds to the experience instead of ruining it. That's one thing I truly appreciate about this game. It feels unique. There's nothing else quite like it. Don't you dare take me to another part of the house. I think the strongest thing about the 7th Guest is absolutely the atmosphere. The mansion itself feels like the main character. Each room has its own personality. Some are bizarre, some are creepy, and some are oddly beautiful. The soundtrack deserves a lot of credit too. The music does a good job of creating tension without being overly aggressive. It has this classic goth horror vibe that makes even simple exploration feel eerie. Very Haunted Mansion-esque. The FMV cutscenes are a big part of the charm for me. Yes, they're outdated. Yes, the acting is over the top, but I love that about it. There's something very entertaining about the exaggerated performances and awkward line delivery. It gives the game such personality.
Stop with your... No! Stop!
Sexy. The 30th Anniversary Edition also does a decent job of making the game more accessible on modern systems without completely destroying the original feel. And I really appreciate that. Most remasters either over-modernize everything or barely improve anything at all.
I've seen this room before. I know what this is.
Strange paintings. Sick.
But now we need to talk about what almost completely changed my opinion of the entire game. The puzzles. At first, I really liked them. Early on, the puzzles feel creative and interesting. You walk into a room and there's genuine curiosity there. Like, what weird thing am I about to figure out next? Some of the puzzles feel satisfying because they directly connect with the creepy toymaker theme or the unsettling mansion atmosphere. And when the game gives you enough information to logically solve the puzzle, it can feel very rewarding.
Don't worry, I won't bite.
But then there's a point where the experience slowly starts turning into frustration. And once that frustration builds, it's difficult to ignore. Eventually, the puzzles stopped feeling atmospheric and started feeling more like an obstacle in between me and the story that I actually really cared about. That was the biggest issue for me. I wanted to explore the mansion more. I wanted more story reveal and more creepy cutscenes. But instead, I spent a lot of time staring at puzzles, wondering what the game even wanted from me.
Surprise.
The hell is this? Ew, it's like checkers or something. Or chess. It's chess. Some of these puzzles are difficult in ways that just feel unintuitive. Not clever, not satisfying, just obscure. And I know there are some people who genuinely love brutally hard puzzle games. But personally, I think there's a difference between a puzzle making you think and a puzzle making you feel annoyed. Some of these just totally killed the pacing for me. Because in a game like The Seventh Guest, where it doesn't even really explain its logic clearly, a lot of the time I didn't feel excited anymore. I was just relieved to finally get past something. And that's honestly not what you want in a horror mystery game. I bet you'll just get it by like sheer dumb luck. Without completely spoiling every puzzle, there were certain sections of the game that made me feel like quitting. The microscope puzzle was like the game expected my brain to work on a completely different wavelength. And don't even get me started on the chess-related puzzles. Look, I bet if you love chess, they were absolutely amazing. I do not love chess, so for me, it felt like being trapped inside someone else's board game obsession. Me freaking too. Bored too, because this game is nonsense. I also think the game sometimes mistakes complexity for depth. Just because a puzzle is difficult doesn't automatically make it satisfying. And a lot of older games have the mentality of, well, if a player gets stuck for hours, it must be challenging. But sometimes that just means that the pacing collapses completely. There were points in this game where I genuinely forgot what was going on in the story because I was stuck in one room for so long trying to figure out a puzzle. And for a narrative-heavy experience, that's not ideal. Oh my god, that was painful, but I did it. And yes, I used guides. More than once. Probably more than I actually wanted to. At first I tried really hard not to, because I always want to try to solve puzzle games naturally. But there came a point where I had to ask myself, am I even having fun right now? And sometimes the answer was honestly no.
No!
Oh my god. I don't even give a shit. I cheated. I have no interest in learning how to do that. That was trash. I think some hardcore fans would say, well, that's just how old games were. And that's true, to an extent. But I think nostalgia makes people forget just how frustrating some of these design choices actually are. There's a difference between a game respecting your intelligence and a game refusing to communicate properly. And the seventh guest crosses that line more than once. No, I don't want to. The weird thing is that I wanted to keep playing, which says a lot about how compelling the atmosphere and mystery actually are. If the story and setting weren't interesting, I absolutely would have quit. But I pushed through the difficult parts because I genuinely wanted answers. I wanted to understand Stauf. I wanted to know what happened to the guests, and I wanted to explore the mansion more. The game has a dark fairy tale energy that kept pulling me back in even when I was irritated.
Rich! Filthy rich!
And Henry Stauf is a fantastic villain. He's theatrical, creepy, manipulative, and weirdly entertaining all at the same time. The more the game leaned into its unsettling atmosphere and bizarre storytelling, the more invested I became, which made the frustrating puzzles even more annoying. I couldn't help but think, I just want to get back to the story. I don't know. I think whether you enjoy the seventh guest today will really end up depending on your tolerance for old school puzzle design. If you love difficult puzzles and don't mind getting stuck for long periods of time, you might absolutely adore this game. But if you're more like me and we're here for the horror, atmosphere, and story, your experience might end up being a little bit more uneven. This game hurts my brain. I'm too blonde. I don't regret playing it. I actually think it's a really fascinating game. But I can't sit here and pretend I absolutely loved every minute of it, because I definitely didn't. There were stretches where I was completely immersed, and stretches where I was completely pissed off. That tension between admiration and irritation basically defines my entire experience with this game. This game is my life's worst decision. At the end of the day, I think the seventh guest is one of those games where it's easier to appreciate than it is to fully enjoy. And I don't mean that as an insult. I really respect what this game accomplished. It defined an entire era for PC gaming. Its atmosphere is memorable, its presentation was groundbreaking for the time, and the mansion itself still feels totally creepy decades later. These people are into some weird ass shit. But I also think the puzzle design can hurt the overall experience depending on what type of a player you are. For me, the game constantly swung between, this is fascinating, and I never want to do this again, which is a really strange experience. But I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I experienced this piece of gaming history. But I completely understand why some people bounce off it pretty hard, because I almost did too.
Having fun yet, mortal?
So overall, I'd say the seventh guest is a game I respect more than I love. The story, music, atmosphere, and bizarre FMV charm really pulled me in. But the puzzle difficulty repeatedly pushed me away. I'd say your enjoyment of the game is really going to depend on which you value more. I love how this game explains zero. You're just supposed to like freaking read its mind. If you've played The Seventh Guest, let me know what you thought about the puzzles, because I desperately need to know I'm not alone here. Did you love them or did they drive you insane? I'd love to hear other people's experiences. And if you enjoyed this game review, leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any more game-related content. And hopefully the next time I cover a puzzle game, it hurts a little less. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I don't know how to play that. Up next, we're headed back to the Stauf mansion in the 2026 remake of The Seventh Guest.